Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Generation Change. We're all about advocating for gender equality and empowering women in the STEM fields. I'm Esther and this is Jane. And we're your hosts for this really special episode where we'll be interviewing Miss Zad Chin, a Harvard graduate with a Bachelor of Arts in Statistics and Math, as well as a Master's in Statistics. She founded the BASE Initiative and Project Bowie, both of which are dedicated to creating opportunities and resources for underprivileged students. Her initiatives have empowered countless young minds, giving them the tools for confidence and dream big to achieve their goals. Currently, she's a teaching fellow at the Asia School of Business and she's teaching AI.
Hi guys, nice to meet you all.
Before we begin this interview, I would like to express my sincere gratitude towards Ms. Zad for agreeing to this interview. So, before jumping into the main topic, how was your day, Ms. Zad?
It was great. Like let me reflect back on what did I do today. Oh, that's tough. I think I went to teach some AI classes to some young kids today, so it was very interesting. Yeah, I think today was generally a very like productive day. I think yeah, it was fun. Thank you so much for asking.
Without further ado, let's start with the interview. This said, I really admire your work and courage to establish BASE Initiative and Project Bowie. Could you share with us how you started these projects and did you receive any support?
Yeah, so that's a very great question. Thank you so much for asking. I started all these projects solely because of what I experienced growing up from like a small town in Ipoh, like not having a lot of like resources and help. And I come from like a low income first generation family. So I know that there is like education inequality when I actually go to like my college at UM to study for A level. When I see that there are like people who are like, let's say in like better schools in KL or more equipped, more well-funded school in KL and Penang has the opportunity to go join robotics, buy robotics set whatever they like, have the opportunity to pay for a trainer, to actually help them to succeed in their competition or whatever they do, right? But that kind of opportunity doesn't really exist back in like my hometown. So it actually inspired me to learn more about like education inequality. And for Project Bowie, I actually started it first. So I started it in like, I guess around, I think March 2018. So that was because I went to a Kachara kitchen field trip. And then the founder, the managing director at the time was talking about how the problem and the root cause of poverty and why poverty is really hard to solve is because everybody just focus on the tip of the iceberg, right? Oh, people doesn't have food to eat, people have like water insecurity, people have like home insecurity. But actually the tip of the problem is that they didn't get enough quality education, right? That's one part of the pillar. And like the other part of the pillar plays some role as well, right? Like quality healthcare and all the other stuff. But quality education is a way whereby if their children receive quality education, that's how they break out the poverty cycle, right? And that's what I personally experienced as well. Like coming from a low income family background, I see that how, actually having the opportunity given by Kazana, like the scholarship body, to actually pursue a quality education actually open up my mind, right? Like open up the world for me. So I started Project Bowie first with Kachara Soup Kitchen actually. And then like we go around in one of their the condo that they serve apartment that they serve and actually go and interview some residents there about like, oh, what is the problem with like quality education, like what is the biggest barriers of you sending your child to quality education, right? Then they mentioned about funding for tutoring. So we started like to recruit like students from like nearby university like Taylor's, Sunway, Monash as well, to actually just go there and help them from the one-to-one tutoring. So that's Project Bowie. And BASE started off a very similar kind of like motivation as well. So it's mostly like, okay, I actually, as a scholar, I was very lucky. So during that time, I was very lucky to get a computer like by my sister who is actually working. And she was like, oh yeah, you can use my computer to Google, right? And I was like, oh, I Googled like scholarship opportunity available. And the first one that popped out because of like search engine optimization was Kazana. And so that's the only one that I applied. And I was very fortunate enough to get in, right? So when I got in, everybody was like, you only applied to one. Are you serious? Like everyone here applied to like 5 and 8. But then because I come from a small town, I don't really have the kind of like knowledge about, oh, like my seniors can do this. There are like, 5, 8 scholarship available beside like JPA bursaries and stuff like that. Like you can actually go overseas to study. So we started off based with like this intention of actually just to like give people more information about scholarship, right? Really make it online, live on YouTube, regardless of the state you are, regardless of the place you live, you can actually watch it to gain information just like on like what scholarship are available, like what scholarship sponsor you to study overseas, what sponsor you local universities, like what are the things that you need to prepare, like how do you write a personal statement, right? Like we only write English essay. Like personal statement is a very different thing, like what to put in a personal statement, like what kind of like results you need, like how to approach interview, what are the quantitative and the qualitative assessment that was given in the whole like scholarship application. So that was like briefly just like what the motivation come from. As in help, I was very fortunate, right? Like as I say, like Project Bawi was started with Kachara. Kachara have a really nice support system for me. Like they gave me their opportunity to interview their clients about like what are their opportunity, give me an opportunity to teach the client. And for base, I think I also very fortunate to have a group of friends. So I started base with Kishan, who actually just graduated from UPenn as well, in KY. So I guess it was just like I have a lot of friends support, family support, support from organization, and I was very, truly, I would just say it's just a very lucky experience, and I'm very like truly fortunate enough to get those opportunity and like experience given to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say something, Actually, I'm from Penang. I joined robotic competitions, and no, my school did not have like the resources to build like the basic robot to enter the competition.
Yeah, I guess it really depends on the schools you go to and really how much the school get funding, right? Like I go to a girls' school,
I
and my
also go
schools
to a
are really like focus on this, right? They really like to focus on like cheerleading, like band. They don't really believe that robotics is like I mean I can talk more later, but like I guess I don't want to like spoil the fun, but I guess yeah, that's actually really depends on the school that you go to.
Right, I agree. For me, I'm very fortunate to be in a high school that could provide us with more opportunities because we have more funding. But now I'm in college and I go for competitions. I do realize that other schools, they actually have like personal coach or trainers to train their students, and that's why they can excel in competitions. I think like there's really a gap for us to close. Um, yeah, thank you for your sharing. Could you also share with us what inspired you to choose this field? Because mathematics, for me, I think it's very hard, or like physics. So what inspired you to choose this field?
Yeah, so yeah, that's a very great question. So I first so when I was in secondary school, I was into robotics. So like the story goes that one day I was in my primary school. I was not like the brightest student, right? Normally they chose like the top 1, 2, 3. So I'm not the brightest student. Like I'm just a normal, like maybe top 10% of the school. I'm not like the first ranked person. Then they always choose the first ranked person to participate in all this science competition normally. And I saw like from like a slit of like window that like this robot move, and I was super like into it. Like I just thought it was like the coolest thing possible. It was like transformer in real life kind of thing. So I was very into it, and then I did I did my own initiative to participated in it in secondary school, which was not really well funded at the time. So we worked very hard, right? Like I think as a robotics, I think like Esther will know more. Like it's like if you don't get a lot of coaches, you literally just spend like 10 hours or like more than that, like 3 days, 3 nights, literally just like trying to struggle, like how to make this gear work, trying to go online to search every possible like combination on how to make your robot move in a certain angle kind of thing. So I think that really like that really taught me like the grit, right? And the possibility of like just this piece of Lego like merged together about what they can create, right? I can create like a forklift, I can create like something that do like space mining. So that was my team for my national robotics competition at that time. So I guess that's give me a lot of like background about what I wanted to pursue. And what I see is that like I was like, oh my God, like actually whatever I create from this robotics, right, can actually solve some world problem, right? It actually have real impact on what I create, right? Like if I create a cool device, like let's say I can tell you the best example I have. I guess like when Elon Musk not created, but like funded Tesla and created electric car, that was really like the changing moment for the whole world moving towards a more sustainable future, right? So I feel like there's the kind of impact that technology can create. And I want to be part of building that technology that actually impact people. So I got that kind of idea when I was like 16, 17. And I was looking for like places to go. So I was very drawn to MIT, but I got rejected anyway. So that was a good story to tell next time. But yeah, I got rejected. I got into the naval school. I mean, I still take classes at MIT sometimes, but I mean, it's neighbor. And so I always use the concept of ikigai to find like what I actually good at, right? Like it's an iterative process. So even until now, I still do it. Like I really like robotics, AI, technology. And I think I'm good at robotics, AI, technology, right? Like when I'm in like SPM, when I'm in like A level, I realized that my strongest subject is actually like math, like further math. And then like and then I think about like, oh, what I can do, right? Like what I think the world needs. So I think the world need like better or more technology that is created for like more inclusive technology. I would say I feel like technology are created by a dominated field, let's say like male. So I really like disagree with how they create like technology. I think the best example I have is probably like mammogram. I feel like mammogram is just something that was created solely because they just think about a function but doesn't think about the user experience of a female, right? Like I saw my mom doing it. He was like, yeah, it's not painful, but I know it's painful. Every person who go there get their breast like slapped and like turn 360 degrees. That's just a like imagine you are trying to do this for like indigenous people who always believe in traditional medicine, right? Like orang asli in like the kampong. They're not gonna like go through that. Like it just I just feel like you just can't like wrap your mind around like how this technology are non-inclusive. And recently I realized that car are not actually designed for like a female body, about the length of the car view, like how the seat was designed, how like the pedal was designed was not actually like for like like minority or like female like us. So I feel like there are like a need of creating like a more inclusive technology. And I see it like, from like the career I can pursue was like probably like engineering and AI. So I decided to pursue like really like somewhere around the field. So why I chose statistics and math at Harvard is because they don't actually have like a course called like AI, but they rather has like something called statistics that have a data science track. So I pursued the statistics with like a data science track. And so I thought that was really a good background for my AI pursue or like trying to create more equitable tech in the future.
Question, why didn't you choose engineering?
Because at that time there was only like a few engineering option available. There was like bioengineering, electronic engineering. So Harvard is not an engineering school. They don't have a lot of options. So I guess we are more strong suit in like kind of like the liberal art like field. So I guess which is actually good. I can talk more about why liberal art is good. Like gave us like a more holistic view, right? Like it's not just about I study how to like create a product, but I also study how the product like impact the world, right? Like how I can create better product by understanding the society around me, how the society function, what is the psychology of a human when they see the product. So I guess that was a pro, but I would say I didn't study engineering just because Harvard didn't like offer it. Like they only offer a very small selection. I think there was only like 5-6 different engineering selection, and I want to be more diversified as possible.
Right. I went through your LinkedIn and I saw that you applied through early action. So early action, if I'm not mistaken, is that you apply and you can only apply to one Ivy League. Is that right? Oh,
Yes.
so why were you so fixed on Harvard and not any other schools that gave more opportunities in engineering or AI?
Okay, so I can tell you exactly why I applied to Harvard. I think once I started out with engineering when I was in like 16, 17, so I participated in science fair and stuff, I realized what I lack is not like a skill to create, right? Like I can learn coding online. I can always like self-improve my engineering skill by going to Instructable, Stack Exchange, and now even ChatGPT. Um, but something that I actually cannot like really self-taught is the component of like the society. So like that's actually what I wrote in my Harvard essay, right? Like I created a product called like a forest fire detection device when I was like 16 for like the Young Innovators Challenge. I won the competition. I published a paper. We have a YouTube about it. But so what, right? Like so what, right? The impact I created didn't actually get realized. And that's what about hit me, right? Is that it's not about creating the technology, it's about how to actually like not market, I can say like how to actually put this technology to use, right? That's why like a lot of research kind of die in just the lab, right? Like a lot of people in this world created like a lot of good research, but why it just die in the lab or like stop in the lab? It didn't actually go to reach people, right? So I think I wanted to fill up the gap between technology and people. And I think that gap was basically like, oh, how I understand people, right? Like what do people need? What are the different layers of society, right? Like how can I think more broadly when I think about technology, right? Like instead of creating a car for a specific people, can I think about what other examples are there? So I realized that that is something that a school that is like Harvard, like liberal art education system can teach you, right? Harvard is very into like, Harvard has this like very good political school called like Harvard Kennedy School. Harvard also have a very like strong business school, which I was very fortunate enough to join and like take some classes called Harvard Business School. So I think I learned a lot about like not just the level of creating, but also like really bringing the creation to life to people to actually impact the people I wanted to impact. So therefore I actually applied to Harvard. Well, side note on why I applied to Harvard besides that grand like vision is that Harvard at that time only require one supplemental essay, and like the timeline was pretty tight. And I was like, out of the schools that like actually require only one supplement essay, the school that I actually wanted to get in the most was Harvard. So I was like, okay, like why don't I just try it, right? And also like, Harvard is next to MIT. And I kind of know that I don't really have a high chance of MIT. So I was like, yeah, it's a good opportunity because I can take classes from Harvard to I can take classes from MIT at Harvard. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Thanks for sharing your experience. Moving on, we would like to ask, do you have any experience in gender discrimination, maybe in school or even in the workplace? Yeah.
Yeah. I think Esther also mentioned it kind of thing. Like I think coming from a girls' school, it's it's like when you are like a girl interested in STEM, it's just like super hard. Um, Especially your school is not like really focusing as like one of their like pillars of like excellent or something like that, right? Like they don't think that you can do it, so they will not fund you because the school, like understand from the school perspective, right? Because they have limited amount of fund. We come from like pretty small town. They can't just fund everything. They want to fund something that they think have potentials and like, you know, really can make their school like seems good on the paper. So when I was young, like when I do all of this, like only like me and my physics teacher is working on it together kind of thing. I was very grateful to have like my physics teacher to support me. But I know that like not just I think a lot of students don't have the physics teacher, right, as I do. And the second thing that I actually got that I was actually discriminated was in a competition. So in a competition, I brought a solar car there. The solar car was pretty fast. It was a state level competition. So we won the province, we won the era, all this state, and we go to the state level. One of the judge literally stand up and ask me, I don't believe that this solar car is done by you. And then he was like, justify how it's like, I mean, he didn't ask it. So like we was the only girl team in like the state era. And that's what he said to me. We are all just like started, right? Like, what do you mean it's not done by us? We put so much sweat, we solder every single wire, and you said it's just because we are better than you. You said that it's not done by us. Like, what do you mean, right? So I guess that was like that was an interesting experience. When it was like I was really young. I guess that actually builds up to the character I have. That like even though someone tell me that I cannot do it, I will still do it. Another thing that I actually experienced, this is like my first experience, right? Like I was very startled. I talked to my mom about it. My mom is like, if someone don't believe you, you just do it again. Just do it until people believe you that you are actually good, right? Do it until like you are actually like getting into top schools, that people believe that you are actually good to get into top school. So that's what like I actually striving for all the time, right? Like I always wanted to get into top school just to tell people that, hey, you know, I'm actually good. I'm not just like a waste, you know, like those Chinese word, the hua ping, that I can't do anything. I'm actually good. Another thing that actually frustrated me the most was actually when I was doing the Young Innovator Challenge. I first proposed the forest fire detection device with Arduino. So nobody in the school has ever heard about the word microcontrollers. Nobody in the school has ever heard about Arduino or Raspberry Pi or sensors or whatever. And so one of the higher up, I will not name names because I think it's a very public thing, but one of the higher up literally told me that you are a girl. I don't think this is possible. Nobody have done it before. Why don't you change to some biology related thing? Like maybe just mix two chemical together and do this as a science fair. And yeah, I walk out. I guess I say that like I will prove you wrong. But it still break me, right? Like I was a girl, like, you know, it was like 16, 17. I walk out actually crying, but I still say I'm gonna prove you wrong because I have the gut. But I would say that like it's it's a character my mom built kind of thing. Like I feel like a lot of people would just stop there. Like I was very like fortunate enough to have my mom who keeps supporting me at the time and be like, if someone just don't believe you, you're just gonna do it until, like, I think it's a encouragement from my mom's side to be like actually giving me the courage to continue to do so. But I'll say a lot of girls, I feel like, die in their young career or like young interest because someone said that to them, right? And nobody actually say that it's okay, you can do it, you can prove them wrong. They are like a real life example that people actually prove them wrong. And the world needs you to become a great engineer one day to actually make this world a more inclusive and diverse place. Yeah.
It was really inspiring, your story.
We hear like people telling us that girls are more suitable for like healthcare or like more language, whereas guys are like better in math, so they should do engineering. I think like that kind of beats down our confidence to pursue STEM. Maybe we could have done better if we had more support, right?
Yeah. I guess maybe I should go around and talk more about my experiences so that girls are feeling like a bit better. I think this is a very good channel. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Moving on, before going into this field, did you have any knowledge about gender discrimination, or was it during the competitions you realized that people look down on you just because you were a girl?
I think I really don't like, I think as a like a 14, 15, like 13 years old, like lower secondary school, and especially when I come from like girls' school, I didn't actually grasp the idea of gender discrimination, right? Like I don't know like why people are unequal. I don't know that like why like certain gender cannot study a certain thing or certain gender cannot do a certain thing, or why they believe that like, you know, different like gender are like their brain function differently kind of thing. So I only actually experience it when I try it out and go into industries. I would say that like nowadays maybe like people are much more open-minded. When I was in that time, it was like 2010-ish. So it was like, I think it's still pretty early in tech field. People didn't realize that, hey, you know, like the CSO or like the CTO of like OpenAI is actually a girl kind of thing, right? Like nobody talk about it. But nowadays I feel like people are much more open, right? Like with the Me Too movement and everything, people actually realize that females suffer a lot of discrimination. And I kind of only know about gender discrimination actually through the competition, right? I didn't even coin down the term gender discrimination until actually I was like 18, 19 to actually think about what, like, I feel like I only reflected back deeply until what happened to me, and what have happened to me, it was like when I was actually writing for my college application, because I was like, oh, what actually built me up to today, right? So yeah.
I see. Thank you for sharing. Did you think that it got better when it came to working in STEM fields where like or maybe it's a more male-dominated environment? Did you think that the discrimination got better or it got worse?
I feel like working in the industry in the US, I can never say for Malaysia because I've never worked in the industry for Malaysia yet. But working for the industry in the US, I think it's actually people actually are like very conscious about what they say. They are very respectful on what they say, and I feel like there are some tips and tricks that people teach on YouTube. They are like very good that I sometimes use. Like for example, like if your male like if you say something and then someone didn't listen, and then like your male friend say something and someone else listen, like how should you like respond, right? Like there was a question that was asked in one of the Harvard Business School thing, and then they were telling me that, oh, like in this case you should be like, thank you so much for pointing out the point that I've just said just now. Like you need to like I feel like it's not fair for us, right? Like it's not fair for the girl to be like really need to be the dominant player, because people should have just respected us at the first place. But I guess like they still need to be an effort that, hey, you know, you need to search back your dominance. You need to be like brave enough to voice out what you think is correct, what you think is incorrect. But I guess in the US the industry is very nice, right? Like there are a lot of effort just focused on like mentorship on girls, like really like bringing up girls. I think like Google has like some software engineering program for girls. There are a lot of like quant firms that have programs just for girls. And then I think I was very fortunate enough to even get like a AI micro internship in one of the more diversity focused group organized by a PhD who actually served as my mentor at the end of the day, by a girl as well. So I guess it's like a lot of like girl help girl situation in the US. I can't speak for the industry here currently, but like a lot of professors that I work with, a lot of like PhD students that I work with, like even when I work at pharma company, the pharma company are males, but they are like really respectful people. I think they are like really taking into mind. They'll be like, what do you think? They will actually ask for your opinions, which is a great initiative from their end.
Right. I believe that a lot of companies or corporates, they have like this, not to say like a framework, it's more of like an understanding that the management level has to be like 50-50 male and female, around that ratio. I think it's getting better in that sense so that women actually gets to have leadership positions. You mentioned that you were in mentorship programs. Did you have opportunities in leading or management?
Sorry, leading and management of the mentorship program, or like what
Or
what do
like,
you go to?
or just like opportunities? Like, did you have mentors that give you opportunities to lead and mentor other people, something like that?
Yeah, so I guess the like my mentors in the field actually really empowered me to do things greater than that, and really inspired like other people, right? Like the first mentor I have was a PhD student called Elizabeth, and she started out a program called like Try AI micro internship that focused on like getting more like underprivileged like marginalized like individuals such as like African Americans, Hispanic, female into AI, and giving them an opportunity to try out an AI project. So I was part of it, and she gave me an AI project around COVID. And that was actually my first experience on like actually research, like what does it like. So the time was COVID, so we was like talking about COVID. There was this challenge called the Dream Challenge. And so I built out a classification model all under her mentorship about, oh, I realized that there are like class biases, or I realized that, you know, you can't just like trust accuracy alone. Like I realized a lot of things just from like her mentorship. And she actually encouraged me to go further, right? Like after that, I actually got more kind of like more interest in research, and then subsequently go into like research with like professors who opened door for me. Like go ask them in office hour, they were like, yeah, sure, join me. And so that leads to my second professor, which is Professor Finale Doshi Velas, which is very good fortunate. I'm very fortunate to have. Like she mentored me in this ICU data set project, which actually published in NUIPS, which is one of the most like leading like machine learning conference. And that was my first experience of like international like big conference. I was really fortunate. And then like it leads me to like discovering like what I actually wanted to research, which lead me to the third experience at like Dana-Farber and like being an ML engineer at Big Head Biosciences, which is a pharmaceutical company. That's because I kind of like with all this research experience back, I kind of have like a more mindset about like what I wanted to do, right? Like what is the right path and stuff like that. So I guess that's like built up on like all my like previous mentors, as in like how I contribute back about all this mentorship. I teach a lot of classes at Harvard, so I believe that like teaching is not just a way to like make somebody learn something. It's also a way to learn from your student, right? Like what your student know, like what is the interaction with students. Like I feel like my students teach me more than I teach them, kind of thing. So I really enjoy teaching. I'm very passionate about teaching. So I taught like multiple like CS50 classes. I taught Stat 110, some graduate stat classes as well, and some math classes. I think those are like my fun pastime activity that I try to contribute back. Besides that, I actually like kind of like join an organization. I serve as a vice president for like MIT X Harvard Women in AI. So that actually organized a lot of like efforts in like gathering women in AI to talk about their experience, to give mentorship to other women about, hey, I want to do research, right? What is my first step? Like, how should I reach out to professor? What is the emails to write? What professor I should reach out to? How many professor I should reach out to? Do I need to have a topic in mind before I reach out? I think a lot of these like minor question that we don't see, but people actually have those kind of questions. So we actually organize like some coffee events, some like mentorship event to help people with getting into AI from a woman perspective.
It's also the same. I mean, regarding your mentor, Elizabeth. So what do you think what role do you think mentorship plays in encouraging more women to pursue STEM fields?
I think they play a very important role. I feel like even just having a role model that I can look up to actually plays a very important role. When I was young, I look up a lot to like Steve Jobs. I like how in the July month, the Chinese July month, you burn paper to like your ancestor. I burn paper to Steve Jobs. I would write letter and burn it, and then my mom would think that I'm crazy kind of thing. But I guess it's very important to have like role model to look up to, and like really like just leaders that you can think that you can become them, right? Like for example, I think Elizabeth made me realize that, hey, actually people like female can be good at AI. We can play a part in changing the world cause, right? I think I have a very good like business role model, Nadia, which is also a Harvard alumni. I feel like she's a very powerful woman. She is very motivational. She's very clear. She's very like focused. She's also very how can I say? She's a leader that I actually admire the most. Like people who work with her actually respect and admire her, and I think that's someone that I look up to. Like even until now, I think she I mean, I don't know whether she classified as a mentor, but like I think I look up to her as like, oh my god, like that's something I can become. I have some dreams that I can become someone like important, influential, powerful like that, right? And I think mentorship provide like a safety net, I would say. Like when you're pursuing something that you do not really know, right? Like this is such a foreign concept. This is such a like nobody have done it before kind of thing. Knowing that like someone will always support you, someone will always like bring you up when you fall down kind of thing. It's to me, I think it's a very valuable thing. Like whenever I code something and I was like, oh my god, I can't do this. And Elizabeth was like, oh yeah, you just code wrongly in this. I was like, oh my god, you're such a savior in life kind of thing. I was struggling with that for like 3 hours. But maybe nowadays ChatGPT can do the job. But at that time, ChatGPT couldn't do the job. So I guess yeah, it does really play a very important role in giving like safety net, in giving like encouragement, in really just showing role model, right? Like envisioning what you can be is actually very important in determining goals for people, right? And I think that having a mentor that can help you to envision what you can become really help to like solidify your goal, right? Your goal is not just like some like, oh, in the cloud nine, you don't know whether you can achieve kind of thing. But seeing someone achieving it, seeing someone doing it actually give you like a lot of base that I can do that too. Yeah.
I think you're a really good role model for us all.
No lah. I think I'm still very young, but thank you so much for like I think I'm still learning and I'm still improving. I hope one day I can like become better role models. But I don't think like I'm a good. I mean, I hope I can inspire more kids lah.
No, honestly, you inspired me because like ever since you came out in like the newspaper saying like you got into Harvard, I actually like looked through your profile, like all the projects you did, your LinkedIn. Yeah, and then I like look at it. I mean, not just you lah, just everybody who got into like, Ivy Leagues and really top schools. Yeah, I just not stalking, it's public, but I just do like a record, like track what they do and then see how I can like implement that into my life.
Yeah, I think everybody should apply to top school. Don't be afraid. There's a famous quote that I say, that don't reject yourself before the school reject you. Apply first. Yeah, the school had the job to reject you, okay, guys. Yeah, don't reject yourself. Yeah. Don't
Yeah,
dwell.
you're giving this 20-minute talk why we should apply to Harvard.
I think everybody should. It was so sad, guys. It was so sad. Like, yeah, it was like a small amount of like Malaysian. Then you can see that like other people, like Singaporean, for example, has a huge amount. It's like, 2 Malaysian, 10 Singaporean. Then you're like, oh my God, guys, I just need home. And then like you can see your Cambridge University, your Oxford University has a club. We can't even have our own club, guys. We need to call Singaporean, Indonesian, and yeah, the last one, and Malaysian club. So we need to form a Harvard Malaysian club at Harvard. So please apply.
Okay.
We will be the members there. Okay.
I will apply.
Yes.
So, all this technology, they just improve day by day, and it's really hard to catch up with it, right? Because the latest technology just comes in all the time. And how do you stay updated with all these latest developments, and especially in your field, AI?
Well, that's a very great question. I have a habit. I still read news every single day. I'm a very old person. I feel like I also like encouraged by my parents also. I would like to thank my parents for the habit. So my parents like to buy newspaper, and then I like to read newspaper when I was young. So I still read newspaper until now. I guess that's really helps, right? Like you say, reading New York Times, or like I changed from reading 星洲日报 to like New York Times. But like reading all these newspaper do help in like catching up with the technology. I guess staying relevant in the field also helps. Like nowadays I work with AI, teach people AI, talk about AI in a very like teach people AI, talk about AI all the time. So I think it helps me, right? Like it kind of like have the discipline or like motivation to encourage me to stay on top of the thing. I think a lot of people also use Twitter or like X now. Yeah, X now to catch up with AI news. There's a lot of like people on it. So I probably check it like once a week kind of thing. I don't really like use Twitter. I don't understand. I think there's too much bots on it. Okay, that's just what I thought. I guess like reading blogs, catching up on LinkedIn is also pretty cool. I guess that's probably just my way of catching. But like reading news is actually like one of the best way to actually like catch up with AI, because it doesn't tell you the technical stuff, right? Like if you read like, let's say, Twitter is too technical, you probably like wouldn't like get the juice out of it. But like reading like, let's say, like news article probably like get you the juice out of it. Yeah, and like read basically not just newspaper, but like read in general, like go to bookstore. Yeah, I still went to bookstore today. But like go to bookstore, walk around, see what are like people publishing. Not just AI, I guess like the world changes like in terms of like let's say mental health books, like happiness, like I don't just read like AI thing. I think, if I just read AI thing, I'll just be a nerd, right? I can't talk right now. But I guess like, actually diversifying your options is also pretty helpful. Like it actually gives you more inspiration to be like, oh, not just like AI as in a technical field, as in a mathematical field. Like if I go on my Twitter, it's just like pure math. Like people just be like, yeah, guys, I invented this like KAN thing. It's a neural network. Like we have a non-linear like functions in the middle. Like it's just pure math, right? But like if you go online and go around and read books, like read other people's experiences, like it kind of let you think about, hey, with this current technology, what I can actually like change, right? Maybe like an education inequality problem you see. You went to volunteer at Kachara Soup Kitchen, you see like a food insecurity problem, you see poverty problem. I guess that actually helps a lot in like not just about the technical part, but also like the social aspect, right? Keeping up with the social environment and context is pretty important.
Previously, you mentioned about like the mammogram. For us girls, we will also consider the user experience rather than all the technical things. So do you have any other experience would you like to add up?
That's a great question that I answer somewhere, but I don't remember what I answered. I think a lot of the time people don't really think about some very not just like like what girl experience, right? But I feel like female bring in a very different emotional kind of perspective. Like let's say you create a technology, right? It's not really about, hey, I created this technology, my accuracy is 99%, so damn cool, right? Like I feel like female bring in the kind of level to be like, how do you actually explain this to normal human being? Like how do you draw the connections, right, between let's say a very technical idea to like a very social like idea kind of thing? Like for let me think. I guess like let's say like, I feel like when I was in Harvard Business School, a lot of people was like bringing in the idea of like, oh my god, yeah, guys, we should just go around and like get as much funding as possible. Like, capitalism is the thing, like everybody should do that. But I think seeing my female classmate and like how we voice out in general is that we will think more about, hey, like what are the impact of your action, right? Like, you can't just think about like your own benefits, which is what a lot of like male counterparts think about, but like more of like public or like your group benefits, like not just about like, hey, you can earn more money, but like what kind of negative impact can you become? Is it ethical? Is it even implementable? I guess that was pretty much the thing I would say. I think yes, I think a lot of the time really bringing in the female perspective when you see things are actually very important. I would say the female perspective, because I feel like that was very labeling thing, right? Like it made me feel like I'm like, oh my god, this is a female characteristic, this is a male characteristic. But I guess it's really just bringing in like the emotional, the social impact, the ethical part, really thinking a more inclusive design, right? I feel like as female, we know how it feels like to be excluded from like a certain thing. So we care more about like marginalized people and we feel more for them, right? As in like more of a dominated, compared to a more dominated like counterparts. So I guess that perspective is very important, right? Especially when the world moving towards a more inclusive, like diversity, like centered thing. I think everybody should just voice out the more I wouldn't say female, but like basically the more like ethical and like social emotional part.
Right. I think so too, because I think girls will female, I wouldn't want to label it, but I think we females are more emotional, but in terms of we are more sensitive to emotions, right? So we tend to be more empathetic towards other people, and we help to make people feel better or more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so too. There was this time in our I think that was a very good example I can think of. So there was this time in the Harvard Business School, we were playing a case study on so like someone will get a case of like, oh, they should ask for like, some raise of money, but then the boss was actually the one that should fire the person. So we didn't know that was the case, right? I didn't know the boss wanted to fire us. We thought we were a good employee, and then we walk in, and so there were like people giving two different cases, so nobody know like what is on our opposite side. And I remember like the male counterparts was pretty harsh on it, right? They were like, no, you're getting fired. I'm not gonna explain to you why. Yeah, maybe I'll explain to you, but I'll give you as less compensation as possible. That's protect my benefits. But hearing like what all these female like leaders actually do, give a very fresh perspective on this, right? They will be like more passionate. They will actually explain their situation first before they are like, you are fired. But like they will even not say like you are fired, right? They will just be like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, the circumstances are so hard, this is what we should do, like what do you think, right? They will ask for opinions, they will ask for comments, they will ask for like, what is the best way I can like, make sure that you live well. I think that was an experience that I really see, because I was the one getting fired, but I was the one playing the getting fired part. So I didn't know about this, but like I was seeing like how there was like, so people was discussing it about that later, and I was seeing like how there was different thing, right? Like people was like, oh my god, like someone getting fired in a very different way, and they feel like very happy getting fired, and I felt very frustrated getting fired. Okay, so I was like, oh, that was actually something that I think people bring onto the table. Like people ask more for opinions, especially female, like they ask more for opinions. Like you say, right? Like Jane, you say like people actually like more sensitive to emotion than just like you are fired kind of thing. Yeah.
Agree with that. We tend to like phrase things better so we don't like hurt other people's feelings. But some people would just like shoot what they want to say without like caring what other people would think or how they would feel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's harsh.
Esther, any questions from your side?
So back to the main topic. Although you haven't worked in the tech industry in Malaysia, right? But what are your thoughts on the current state of gender diversity in the tech industry here?
I don't really know what is the current state of gender diversity, so I have no thoughts about it.
Okay.
But I can suggest some improvement or initiative.
That's my next question.
See.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like, coming from a girls' school, I think that like, I'm not sure the school can improve, or like maybe like more individuals should just go around and talk about their experience and stuff like that. I certainly think that a lot of people make the pivot in their Form 3, Form 4, right? Because they were forced to kind of like choose, hey, you want to go to art stream or science stream. Once you go to the art stream, you cannot be like a scientist anymore kind of thing, which is kind of forced, to be honest. People still study math, you can still do a lot of things. I have friends who study econ and still become a data scientist at the end of the day. So I would say that like, I think, I'm not sure, like in my age, people still have a very fixed mindset on this like whole system that, oh, if you go into art stream, you're gonna like just be like lawyer, accountant, and you go into science stream, you're gonna become like, especially for girl lah, like I feel like for girl, they already kind of have a fixed mindset, right? They'll be like, you are gonna become a pharmacist, you're gonna become a actuarial, you're gonna become like a doctor, you're gonna become a nurse. But they have never encouraged us to become like engineers or like physicists or like nuclear physicists. Like nobody had ever told us that was an option. Everybody just told us that medicine, pharmacy, nurse, biology, bioengineering was like option. I don't know why people just push us there. I think those kind of mindsets should kind of like change as like, the world goes on, right? Like we don't need just like engineers, just mechanical engineers, all guys mechanical engineers. I feel like people should know that as a girl they can become a mechanical engineer and they are not fixed by their tracks that they select when in Form 5. So I kind of really hated the tracks. I don't know why they need to separate people into like science track and arts track, because it was like pretty discriminative. You are trying to force like a 15-year-old to choose kind of like their next half of their life when they don't even know what are the options, kind of thing. So I think at that stage, I think our education system are still very fixated. I think that's something that should be changed. I guess some other thing that should be changed. I think coming from an education perspective, I just felt like more, like not more emphasis, but like I feel like a lot of like the initiative, the effort now are really focused on like working adults or like C-suite, right? Like, okay, now the C-suite need to be 50-50, or like the management level need to be 50-50, or like the working adults, right? Like you cannot have biases when you actually hire people. You need to like cover up their like name and just hire blindly, kind of thing. But I think not a lot of effort has been focused on like when they make the decision, right? Which is their like secondary school years, when they think about what they are good at, when they think about what they are bad at. And I think that should be improved. And I don't know how to be improved. I guess like literally like I think your effort is pretty good, right? Like going out inspiring more kids that hey, girls can be in STEM exists beyond medicine, beyond pharmacy. I guess like that's just what I like I was at one time I was very into like becoming a doctor, and that was solely influenced by my mom, who think that becoming a doctor was a good career for me. But then I kind of switch it back to like engineering and AI at the end, because I realized I have the kind of like, I think I did a reflection lah, but I don't think a lot of people actually did a reflection about like what they actually wanted to pursue, right? Like what kind of impact they want to make, right? And like, I mean, I'm still like very into AI in healthcare, AI and bioengineering, but because I believe that that's the kind of impact I want to make, I want to create the technology to serve the doctor so that they can serve better patient, right? It's a very different label kind of thing. Like doctors are the frontliners, and then you have like people who are the backline who actually create this kind of technology. And I always feel like, you know, all this like technology that is created in the hospital should be more inclusive. But I guess not a lot of people actually tell you the option. I kind of think about it, the option was like, oh, I was like, I don't want to just be a doctor. I don't want, like, the only reason why I don't want to become a doctor is because I don't want to go through like housemanship. I was like, no way, I'm not gonna sleep for like 24 hours. I heard from my friend that you're gonna stay up for 24 hours. I was like, no way, I'm not gonna do that, guys. I need my sleep, guys. I need my beauty sleep. So I was like, yeah, guys, I'm out of here. So I guess like, yeah, I think more initiative on like the secondary school part should actually improve the whole diversity of the ecosystem. I feel like it's not because, you know, like those like your corporate doesn't want to hire a female data scientist or female engineer, right? It's because our school system is already discriminative enough not to produce like female engineers and female like data scientists at university level.
I agree. And I think our education system focuses more on like grades instead of inspiring us to spark that interest in us. It's more about how to get like A plus more than like what do you actually want? Like what is physics in its very origin way. Like when we learn about velocity or like physics stuff, we will just try to understand the concept so we can answer the questions, not really because that we're very interested in the topic and we want to know more about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very good insight.
I want to share something which is back in my school. I don't know if this is true for most schools, but those students who are weak in science or and math during their Form 1 to Form 3 years, they won't get the chance to get into science stream by the time they reach Form 4.
I think that's the same. I think that's
Yeah.
the same for my school. I'm not sure, like Jane, is it the same for your school as well?
Yeah, there is like a certain average score that you must meet in order for you to progress to a science stream.
So
So
basically, this group of people are just kind of doomed. They won't ever like get the chance.
Yeah, they won't actually experience like what the real science is, right? Like Jane said, like the science in our like school is very like just like, okay, you memorize and then you vomit out in the exam. I feel like if I don't really have the kind of passion like going to like robotics, solar car, and like really experimenting, like if I don't have the kind of opportunity, I would know that science is just beyond like, memorizing and vomiting out. And for a record, I actually got a B in my science for PT3. So called I look good on paper, right? Like I was like, oh my god, like guys, I'm so smart. I got into Harvard, yada yada yada. I'm an AI engineer, but I actually got a B in science in my PT3, and I didn't really score well. I actually got an A instead of an A plus in my biology in SPM. So guys, this is to tell you that your score actually doesn't determine anything, right? Like it doesn't, like when I was like getting B, I was like, it's not me. It's fine. Like I feel like the score should not first hinder your process or like your curiosity towards science. But I feel like a lot of parents be like, yeah, you're bad at science, you take a B, like how can you do this kind of thing? Or like your teachers be like, yeah, you cannot do science for now. You got a B in you got a C in your science. Like, what are you doing science? Like, you just do like art and like go into accounting. You have like a better future kind of thing. Like people will always sway you to like other thing. And I feel like if I don't have like, that kind of like ignition and the kind of like inspiration from like my experience in like robotics and like solar car, I will actually get swayed, right? Like I was a 15-year-old, I don't know anything. My teacher say, oh yeah, like also like we are like a very teacher-centric thing, right? They just say yes, you cannot say no one. So like if a teacher tell me, oh yeah, you should go into like art stream, then I'll just be like, oh yeah, okay, I'll just quiet and go to the art stream and just study there, do my accounting degree, come out work, right? Like I won't think about other options. So I guess that's something that it's worth thinking about.
That's why we need to read the book Mindsets.
Yeah, guys. Top. I feel like, Dr. Carol should give us money for publishing her book.
But honestly, I think it's a masterpiece, this book. Even the teachers should read it. Because
Yeah.
they're the root cause of the problem. Honestly.
I guess it's very hard to tell the teacher they're the root cause of the problem.
Yeah, true.
I have a very fixed mindset. I feel like I don't want to say teacher has a very fixed mindset, like, because it's very unfair. They are the one that teach people, right? They are the one that actually make an impact to students. I would say that there are better ways to teach. I guess their way of teaching is easy, right? Like I don't think a teacher job is easy, right? Imagine you are managing a class of like 30, 40 students, each student of like different diversity. You have your own family in house, you have so much responsibility and you're still teaching these kids. That's a very huge, I'll give credits, okay? I'll give credits to the teachers on like actually showing up, right? Like even when they're not caring about the student or even they are like shutting up the students in some way that we believe so. I think their effort and their dedication is worth mentioning, right? It's not like they're not doing anything. But of course, I always believe that everyone can be better, right? It's just like how teacher can be better, us engineers can also be better, right? Us doctors can also be better, us accountants can also be better. It's just about how we improve together as humanity progress forward, kind of thing.
Okay, so for our last question for today, can you give us girls some advice for choosing to pursue a STEM career?
Not just us, but like the younger generation of girls.
That's a very good question. I feel like don't be afraid to really like pursue it at the first place. Like I said, right, like even if you get a B in science, even if you I get a C in my Kemahiran Hidup, by the way. Just so everybody know, I don't know why. Like, okay, I didn't see the point of it. I was very bad at like my results, by the way. Just just putting it out there. I was in the housewife track, so I hated the track with a passion. I was like, why did the housewife track even exist? That's like a pure gender discrimination. But then let me memorize like machine part or like, I don't know, like tell me to memorize recipe on how to make kueh. I was like, I thought, if you cook, it's just like, like intuition, just like just take your finger and just put it there, right? Like I hated it with a passion. Tun Mahathir, if you are listening to this, can you just please like scratch out that like Kemahiran he took out this shit? It was so shitty. But
Actually, that subject was replaced with Reka Bentuk dan Teknologi.
oh, it was replaced? Okay,
Yeah,
that was
so
good.
I said for Reka Bentuk dan Teknologi.
That was great. I'm great to hear that. The housewife track was a killer, guys. I don't know why. I don't know why they need a housewife track. That was such gender discrimination back then. But yes,
Yeah,
I feel like I feel like first of all is to actually don't be afraid in pursuing STEM. Don't think that you are too dumb in pursuing STEM, right? Like a lot of people just self-identify, self-label as, oh my god, I got a CB in my exam, I can't pursue STEM, ha ha ha. Like, oh my god, like what am I, right? Like it's such a like failure kind of thing. I can't pursue STEM. So I think don't be actually afraid to try out. Like go online, see some STEM video, watch it. Don't just learn about what you learn in your syllabus, right? Like Jane said, there are like a lot of things outside like what you learn. Like you can create a lot of things. You can actually have the impact, like try to like create, try to actually achieve the impact. I think it will inspire a lot of people. So I think the first step is don't be afraid to try. Like once you try, I'll promise you cannot go back. It's like, drugs. It's very addicting. No, I think it's just like, it's actually like you keep seeing the impact you create, you keep inspiring people, and I think that's a very like rewarding process. Um, the second one I think is like speak out for yourself. Really like it's not like I know it's very unfair for us as girls to need to speak up for ourselves when like you see your male counterpart, they just be like, hi guys, this is my like project, thank you. But like you actually need to fight for it, right? Like, hi guys, this is my project, this is what I did, I'm very good at this XYZ. You need to know yourself, you need to come and speak up for yourself, you need to have the kind of dominance. It's very unfair for us, I would say. But if you do it, then like you will inspire more girls to do it. Then one day together we will create a more equal world, right? It's just I can't just be a dominant and like one day I just go around and be like, yo guys, STEM inequality is solved, right? Like I can't do it myself, right? I need like every girl to stand up, to speak out, to be dominant. Then together we can create a safety net for all these people, our future younger generation in 20-30 years time, to actually just don't need to speak up anymore, right? They get respected as who they are. But the first step is always very hard. And I feel like really becoming dominant and speaking out for yourself is very important. I guess the third step, I think we have mentioned this all this while, is to actually have a growth mindset. If you haven't read about growth mindset, go read the book. But I'm like a super fan of growth mindset. I feel like it actually changed me when I was like 16 years old. So I was like stumbling across the book actually in a bookstore, and I thought it was pretty interesting. And I was in the lowest time of my life, right? Like I was like getting like fired left, right, front, back as like girl and STEM and stuff like that. I was like, why am I not pursuing? Am I actually failing? Like I got a B in my PT3. Am I actually fit for science? I guess that book actually inspired me to be like, hey, this is what I actually wanted. I can achieve this. Whatever failure, it's fine. I blink an eye, it's gone. I should have like whatever failure built my character, it builds my strength, and actually built up to my success in the future. And if you don't believe it, I can tell you I have failed like multiple times. And if you deem me as success, I guess that give you more base in pursuing STEM, I hope. So I think that's just the three advice. I guess like the last one I would say is don't be afraid to set like very high dreams. Like I feel like a lot of us are like, oh my god, I come from a small town in Malaysia. I'm a low income first generation. My parents cannot afford an education in the US. I come from a small school. Nobody's gonna know like where is SMK XYZ in like this small town. Oh my god, I got a B in this class. How am I gonna even get in? I got like a very bad score in my SAT. How can I even get in? I feel like, yeah, don't be afraid to actually set a very high bar, right? And don't stop pursuing the high bar. like, even though if you don't get the high bar at the end, you still get something, right? Like, you still learn a lot about building your own character and grit. I feel like a lot of people did a wrong thing, as in like, oh my God, I want to get into Harvard. I'm gonna do super curricular X, Y, and Z. Oh my God, I didn't get into Harvard. Like, super curricular X, Y, and Z is just so useless. But what you didn't realize is that doing super curricular X, Y, and Z actually builds up your character, right? Actually builds up to who you are. Like, doing a lot of this like initiative, going around talking to people, being dominant, like doing this initiative XYZ is actually very helpful in becoming successful in life, not just university, right? Success is not, I feel like when I'm in university, the only thing I realize is success is not defined by what university is go to. It's really defined by your personality and your characteristic. And a lot of this like super curricular, like you taking your own initiative and like you actually having the discipline to do this, you actually having a goal, build up to the grit and character, right? Like to actually achieve life success, not just like success in university. That's not the end goal of life. So yeah, don't be afraid to have dreams like, oh my God, one day I want to be like Steve Jobs and inspire the world. I still have the dream kind of way. Like, or like, you know, I want to get into Harvard. Like, it's okay. Like, you can actually do it. And like, even if you don't do it, like, you know, there's this like very cool, like, Latin quote. It's like, if you don't get, shoot for the moon or something. If you don't get the moon, you still get the stars kind of thing. So yeah, that's actually what I want to say. Like, you get a lot of things out of it, and it builds up to the character to make you successful in life in the future.
Those are really inspiring words indeed. So, let me share one of my personal stories. I was also in this robotics team, and the problem started in the very beginning, which is to form the team. So basically, I couldn't form the team when I was back in Form 1 because there were no girls who are willing to join the robotics competition because they're like, isn't this for guys? Like, why would you even join this in the first place? That's what they told me. But I was lucky enough when I was in Form 3, I have a senior who is really passionate in STEM. And so the group founded, we joined First Stack Challenge. We lost. We got sixth place. And
Very
I
good.
remember that there was this all guys group who was like, whoa, all girls. 哎呀，一定不会赢的啦, which means they won't win, you know? Yeah, I got kind of sad though. So
It's okay.
although
I believe, yeah. I believe if you participate the second time, you will actually make it. That's actually happened to me as well. So when I was in Form 1, so there was this team always from Perak. So it's from like Tanjung Mali. So they have like the good trainer, they have all the robotics set, they always win. In the first year, I lost to them in the state level national robotics competition. I was second, they were first. So they get to win to the national robotics competition. I was pretty pissed at them. But since I got second, I was like, the next year I can aim for a first. And guess what? That was the first year that lost in. God, I'm sorry, I sweat. But that was the first year that lost in the competition. Oh my God, they were like, huh? I lost. I was like, yeah, you lost. I was so damn happy. So this is a story, right? I feel like Esther, if you have joined the second year, she would have made it.
unfortunately, I joined the second year, but we didn't make it because like the materials, right? They were so expensive to purchase, and then we tried cutting it, like cutting what we have, like modifying what we have, like 3D printing, but we still couldn't build like the base robot that the First Tech Challenge actually provided us with, you know, like they have like this basic robot for teams like us who have no prior experience for us to build and then just go and play with it. Yeah, we couldn't even build that. So it
Yeah.
was, yeah, so sad. But after that, it's kind of tragic because I was in Form 5, so I didn't do any extracurriculars, just focusing on my SPMs.
It's
But
okay.
now I have the time, so planning to start on something new soon.
Yes, I support you.
Thank you so much. So, once again, thank you so much for taking your time for this interview. And I hope more girls, especially Malaysians, will be inspired by your experiences and take their first small step towards the STEM field. And until next time, let's keep striving for a more equal and educated world.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zad.
Thank you so much.
Let me stop the